I couldn't say what I'm best at, I don't think. I mean, it's very hard to judge, and I try not to judge too much. And usually when I'm judging myself, what I come up with is fairly negative, so I stay away from it. My therapist thinks it's a good idea to stay away from it as much as possible. There's nothing, I would say, there's nothing to compare with the feeling of playing with people when the feeling is right. Because that's a physical, there's a physical feeling there that that's not present when you're writing. Writing is one of the, I have a great time doing that. And there is I mean, when you come up, if you're at home and you're just fooling around the piano or you're writing something out and you come up with something that you like, there'll be a physical sensation there too. But there's nothing like playing. So that's always at the core of things for me. I think people who don't feel that way about it become composers or arrangers exclusively and sort of give up their instrument. And many people do that. You know, they play. Any composer or arranger started off playing an instrument, but some of them are drawn exclusively to composing and arranging. Producing would be slightly down on the list. I don't consider myself really a producer in a sense, meaning like seeking out work of that kind. All the producing I've done so far, maybe I've done 10 or 15 records, have been for friends, really close friends, and people whose music I love and know very well. And I'm not the kind of producer who comes and says, someone, you know, the artist plays the material that he's playing and recording, and say, well, I think we should go in a whole other direction, or, you know, I think there are people who do that, and sometimes they do it, it comes out to the benefit of everyone. But I'm not like that. I pretty much take a vision that's presented to me, and then I just try to help the artist sort of realize it. Producer for a jazz record, I think, has a very different function than a producer for a pop record. For a jazz record, most, you know, jazz musicians who are making a record, they really could produce it themselves in a way. If they're asking for a producer, I mean, sometimes a producer is dictated to them, but if they're just asking for a producer, it's often they're playing live in the studio with a band, and they want to play for someone, and sort of an intelligent, if you will, and sympathetic listener, and someone who may have a comment here and there that can be helpful. In pop music, the producer has a much larger role, and, you know, maybe too large for my taste these days, and you know, a lot of records you hear on the radio, there's nothing there but production almost to me. There's, you know, if you were asked to play the song on the piano, you might be hard-pressed to do it. This tour was planned for a long time, and 3 or 4 of the people I asked long ago, a couple of years ago, Mike and Randy Brecker and Peter Erskine, they were all people that I'd worked with a lot, and I knew, even though I didn't know exactly what the music would be that we would be playing, I knew they were flexible enough to go in any direction, so they seemed like they would be safe bets. You know, there are other players that I might ask who are great players, but only if we were doing a certain kind of thing, so with that much time in advance, it seemed like it made sense to ask them. And then gradually I filled in the rest of the people. Peter Washington on bass is someone who's done most of the gigs that I've been doing in New York for the last few years. Wonderful, wonderful, supportive bass player, and also a great soloist in his own right. Don Elias, who's sort of the last, I'm just doing this in random order. He was the last to come on board, basically because since I booked this tour, well, around that same time, I became very interested in Afro-Cuban music and Latin jazz, if you will. And I did a few gigs, and I made a record that will be released in a couple of months of that nature. And I wanted, it seemed to me, I could have just dusted off some of my old arrangements, not that old, they're from these Blue Note records that came out within the last few years. Done that music, but I figured it would also be nice to do some of the things that I'm gotten interested in the meantime. So I wanted to bring a great percussionist and someone also who was not just strictly in the Afro-Cuban tradition, but also had a lot of jazz experience so that he could play on some of the things that weren't strictly Latin. I was about 8. My father took me to see this concert, and just the excitement of it. You know, that band. Anyone who saw this would have been in the middle '50s. Which was one of the great additions of the Count Basie band. He had many different great bands, but there was a particularly great group of people in the mid '50s. Just so hard driving and swinging, and but relaxed too, which is something I'm always interested in. A relaxed feel with intensity somehow, having that what seems like two incompatible features somehow go together. And I find it increasingly rare to find that, when I'm listening to other music or listening to people, you'll find somebody that's, maybe they'll be relaxed, but it's, or it's intense and it's hyped up and it's just too wired up somehow. So, it's a certain kind of elegance and yet a earthy feel that was in that that Count Basie always had, just spoke to me in some way.
Well, we've had a relationship with Don. We were friends for many, many years, and both of us have played his music. He's one of our favorite writers, and this was just a special thing. We wanted to come here and play the music and play with Don. And so here we are. He has a quick mind and very singular vision. He knows, he's got an individual way of writing, and just there's the Don Grolnick mind vision that comes across in his music. And he's very articulate, and he dresses well. No, he's just a good leader. He's good at making his desires known, and he gives you the, he makes you want to fulfill those desires. The way the whole thing is set up, we all arrive and try and give our best.
We did start playing when? In about 1970. We had a group called Dreams, just to bring the public into the loop. A group called Dreams, in which Don became the second keyboard player and also contributed some of the material, and we just continued to play and work together in different frameworks throughout the years. Don also played in one of Mike's bands, which was called Steps Ahead, and also with James Taylor, with whom both of us at one time worked off and on. What else?
He also produced all my records. There's probably some kind of competition. I think it's pretty healthy. We get along real well. Particularly the older we get, it gets easier and easier. I think our relationship way back entered into turbulent. I don't know if turbulence is the right word, but we didn't always get along that well when we were younger. But we sort of mellowed, and we have a good, really good relationship.
Well, we work with Brecker Brothers. It basically has an electronic element whenever we tour, but although we'll be touring less in the future. And generally, I think our other endeavors will be more in the acoustic realm, possibly. Maybe. Who knows? Change my mind every minute anyway.
We're probably going to stay on the road a lot this year, and so the challenge is to remain healthy. We're going to, as Randy said, go to Asia in March, come back here, hopefully to the continent in the summer, and then possibly go to Brazil after that. And then we're both going to embark on trying to do solo albums again.